All right, so buckle up because this deep dive is taking us straight into Coen Brothers
Oh,
territory.
yeah.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
Love it.
We're going deep this time. We're not just talking about like the quirky characters and the music.
Great.
We're going all the way back to ancient Greece,
Okay.
to those epic poems. We're going to unearth those surprising connections to Homer's The Odyssey.
Really interesting stuff. Most people, they watch this movie and it's just a fun, kind of bluegrass romp through the South.
Totally.
But there's like a whole other layer.
Yeah, and I feel like even just starting with the title, right? Oh, brother, where art thou? It's a movie within a movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about that.
So it comes from Sullivan's Travels from 1941, Preston Sturges.
About this Hollywood director who wants to make a serious film, right?
Mm.
Like a real art film about the Great Depression. He wants to get down to what it means to be like the average Joe.
So we've got that connection with the Depression, obviously, to Oh Brother, but what's the link to the Odyssey?
Well, both of them are about journeys. I mean, you think about Sullivan, he's on this journey to find meaning in art. How can art give a voice to, the struggles of people? And then you have Odysseus. He's trying to get home after the Trojan War.
Right, right.
But it's more than that. It's about Odysseus finding his place in a world that's completely different after being gone for so long. And I think you see that same kind of thread in Everett and, Pete and Delmar too. This desire for something more, even if it is played for laughs.
Yeah, I like that. The search for meaning, for like where do we belong, and it transcends time. It transcends like the genre, the story.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about these characters for a second. I mean, when I first put together that these characters in Oh Brother were the same as in the Odyssey, I was like, whoa! Like I had like cracked the code.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So let's talk about those parallels.
Well, you start with Everett, right? George Clooney, just oozing with that charm.
Oh, yeah.
He's always scheming, always got a plan. Classic Odysseus, right? Uses his brain to get out of any jam. They're both leaders, both trying to guide their buddies through all this chaos.
And speaking of those buddies, Pete and Delmar,
Oh my gosh, yes.
they're constantly finding themselves in these crazy situations, just like Odysseus's crew.
Exactly.
Mm.
And even the stuff they come up against, it's like
Yeah.
straight out of the Odyssey. I mean, you think about Big Dan Teague, that one-eyed Bible salesman who whacks Everett with his stick.
Oh, he's the worst.
He's the Cyclops, right? Polyphemus.
Okay.
Remember that shot of Big Dan where they focus on his one eye?
Yeah, yeah.
Classic Coen brothers, right?
Yeah.
They're making sure you see that connection to the Cyclops. He's all brute force, no nuance.
Right.
And then there's those sirens, by the river, washing clothes, singing. Just like in Homer, that music, their voices, pure temptation. Especially for a guy like Delmar.
Totally. And what about Papio Daniel? I mean, he might share a name with Menelaus from the Odyssey, but he always struck me as this, like, charismatic, down-home Zeus,
Yeah,
holding court,
totally.
calling the shots, shaping destinies.
Yeah, and then you have Penny, Everett's wife. She's Penelope, loyal, holding down the fort while her husband's away.
It's kind of amazing how perfectly they've taken these figures from the Odyssey and put them right into these Depression-era characters.
It's more than just like a one-to-one thing, though. It's like they're taking these classic archetypes and, playing with them a little. We think we know what to expect, right? Odysseus, he's going to be all clever. The crew, they're going to be loyal, but kind of clueless. But by putting them in the American South during the Depression, it adds this whole other layer of, irony. It makes us rethink these classic stories, these classic characters.
It's like they're saying, look at the South, look at these characters, these age-old stories, those flaws, those desires. They're still happening all around you.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you realize that these themes are universal. They pop up in different times and places. And I think it's that universality that adds so much depth to this comedic romp.
And the setting, right, the South during the Depression, it just adds this whole other layer to the whole Odyssey parallel,
Oh, for sure. It's not just any journey. It's a journey through a world that's already tough. They're already up against it. And then you have these escaped convicts running around. It's like the Coens are saying, hey, life's a struggle, folks. And then it gets even crazier.
Right, like these people are already on their own Odyssey dealing with poverty, societal upheaval, and then you throw these guys into the mix.
Absolutely. And you know what else I love about this whole thing? The way they use music.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Odyssey, it was passed down orally, right? So every time it's told, it changes a little. It takes on the flavor of whoever's telling it. And I feel like Oh Brother does that with Southern music. You've got the bluegrass, the gospel, the blues. It's all woven right into the story.
Yeah, it totally is. It's almost like those songs are the South whispering its stories to us.
Exactly. And the Coens, they're masters visually, too. Remember that scene with the KKK rally?
Oh, yeah.
Creepy, right? But also kind of absurd.
It's like they're pointing out how fear and hate, how ridiculous it all is.
It's like a dark carnival. And it's not just the KKK either, right? It's the politicians, the bankers, all those guys in power who take advantage of everybody else.
Yeah, like they're the monsters of the Depression, but not literal monsters, obviously.
Right, it's the system that's the monster, the prejudice, the greed, all that.
It's like the Coens are giving a voice to all the people who get ignored, who are just trying to make it through all this.
Exactly. But here's the thing, right? Even with all the hardship, all the craziness, both stories, the Odyssey and Oh Brother, they still have hope.
They do.
Odysseus gets home, against all odds. And Everett, even though he's not exactly a hero, he finds his own way back to his family. It's messy, but there's hope.
I like that. It's like saying even when life throws you curveballs, things can work out, people can find their way.
That's what I love about the Coens. They get that life is messy. There are no easy answers. And they're not afraid to show that. They want us to see the humor and the grace in all the mess.
Yeah, it's like they're giving us permission to embrace the unknown, to find the beauty in the journey wherever it takes us.
Exactly. And it brings us back to Roger Ebert, right? He liked the movie, but he thought it was a bit all over the place.
I get that, wanting that sense of closure. But maybe that's what the Coens are getting at. Like, life isn't always tidy, right?
Exactly. They're not afraid to leave things a little messy, a little up in the air. And it kind of makes you work for it, you know?
You know, that reminds me of something you said about the Odyssey, how each time it's told, it changes.
Right. It becomes something new.
It's like the Coens are doing their own version, adding their own spin to this ancient story.
And that's what makes it so cool. You still see the Odyssey in there, the longing for home, the temptations, the whole fighting against fate thing.
But it's filtered through their eyes, their way of seeing the world.
Exactly.
It's like they took those big, epic themes and said, okay, let's find them in the everyday.
Yes. And suddenly, these three goofy guys on the run.
Become kind of profound.
Right. They're like the rest of us, just trying to figure things out, even when life's got other plans.
It makes you think, what would my life be like if the Coen brothers were directing? What kind of crazy soundtrack would be playing?
Yeah. Now there's a thought. But seriously, I think that's the beauty of it. They make those ancient stories feel new, relatable, even funny. They remind us that the stuff that mattered way back then, fate, stories, all of it, it's still playing out today.
So next time you watch Oh Brother, try seeing it that way, as a modern-day Odyssey, and see if those links to Homer change how you see the movie.
You might be surprised how those little details, those connections, just add another layer to the whole thing.
Who knows, maybe you'll start seeing those hidden connections everywhere. Your own deep dive might be right around the corner. And that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.